Hello and welcome to the Untold Story podcast with me, Cameron. This week is a special episode as we have our first guest on the podcast. This guest has over 150,000 YouTube subscribers and is known mostly for his basketball content along with football content that he has on another channel. He goes by the name of DKM. So I'm here with DKM. DKM, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How are you?
I'm good. What you been up to recently?
Of late, bro, I've just been watching games, making videos, editing videos, and uploading videos. Really, that's been the story of my life for the past 3 months. Not much more to it.
Different from me. I've been living the furlough life.
Oh, hey, you know what? At least, you know what I'm saying? Like, you seem to find something you're somewhat passionate about. You know what I'm saying? I see you got a mic set up now. So, I mean, what's the word? I approve of the fact that you're trying something new, you're indulging in something new, because there's a lot of people, and it ain't even their fault to be honest, but a lot of people are like sitting down in the dumps. But I respect that you're out here trying to do something, and
cheers.
that's admirable.
It's I've always wanted to do something within journalism, so I've just thought about why not? If I'm sat at home doing nothing, I might as well try something new.
Yeah, facts, bro. I mean, it's good to do it, bro. It's fun, especially if you enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's real.
So I think the first thing I want to get into is the name DKM. How did you come up with it? Is there a reason behind it, or is it just type 3 letters in on a keyboard?
Okay, so this, I'm not gonna fully expose myself from this, but I'll tell you a little something. So originally, DKM used to stand for something.
Yeah.
Right. That thing it stood for was my Xbox gamer tag or my PlayStation gamer tag.
Right.
Now I didn't want to. Now when I got to like 16, 17, and I had like a bunch of subscribers, but they were inactive. You know what I mean? I was like, right. I had like 2 hit videos or whatever. Like hit maybe like at the time was like 20,000, 30,000, which is a hell of a lot more than the 50 views, 100 views I was getting at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, right. I really don't want to be associated with my gamer tag I made when I was 13 years old forever. But I feel like I've built enough of a platform already. If I change it completely, no one's going to know who I am. Okay, let me just abbreviate it to DKM. So DKM, it doesn't have no official meaning. I mean, people from my high school will tell you otherwise because they'll remember what it is. But in terms of like people outside in the world, like it can mean anything. It's kind of mysterious in a way. And to be honest, it's not really something I really ever think about, like what the 3 letters actually mean. But I mean, it's short, it's easy to remember. It's kind of weird when you think back of it, like, damn, like, I mean, this is the name I'm going to be associated with online. And I didn't put that much thought into it. It's just DKM. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, quick and easy to remember.
Mm.
I mean, it's a bit like KSI in a sort of way. He had that massive long name where he had his Halo clan tag in there, and he's just completely got rid of it and just kept the first 3 letters.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same concept, really. I mean, because I started YouTube around the same time as KSI, maybe like a year or 2 after. Like I was on the YouTube wave from when I was like 11 years old, and I never quit. I never stopped. It was always something just I was really interested and loved doing, like in my own time. Do you know what I mean? Like I found YouTube videos or whatever when I was 9, 10 years old. Chris Smooth, some other people, KSI, obviously he was one of them, and it was like I just want to recreate this. And it wasn't until I learned a few years later that if you try to recreate something, people are always going to go to that person because they're already established and they do it better. When I got to like 16, 17 years old, when I started making the videos I do now, that was when I finally realized to myself, okay, instead of trying to copy other people, I'm going to try and do something that hasn't been done already or something different. And I had more success with that. So that's a little tip or advice I'd give to any upcoming creator. Don't try and be your favorite YouTuber. Try and do what your favorite YouTuber does and learn from it and apply it in a different area where there's a market needing some sort of people to provide for that demand of content.
Yeah, 100% agree. So we've mentioned the name, and you mentioned a little bit of how you got started. I was looking back through some of your old videos, like first videos, and you can see, obviously see a massive difference in them, like in the quality. the first two videos, well, your first couple of videos were all documentary style videos, and obviously you went back to that sort of style recently with the one of one in the middle child on the Ball brothers. Is that something that you originally planned out to do, or was it now something that you're looking to get into?
You know what's funny, right? See, and you don't notice it as you're going along, right? When you talk about the old videos, I had like 5 years worth of videos that are on private just now, gaming videos, FIFA, 2K. So like in my mind back then, it was like, okay, this is when my content first started getting decent. But now I look back and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing so differently now to what I do back then, but just I guess it just comes with practice and experience. You
Yeah.
get better at doing it, and it's like a slow progression. Because if I go watch like an old video, I'm talking so fast, I'm like, it just doesn't sound good at all, right? In all honesty, but that's just the standard that's progressed over time. As for the documentary theme, I always loved making mixes and montages. So what I would do back in the day, right, was back on 2K. That's when it started. I'd used to like get Steph Curry or something, make a bunch of realistic like plays and put it together like how you'd see like a Steph Curry highlight mixtape. I try to recreate it for 2K, have like some commentary in the background. There's a couple of YouTubers, a guy called Shady from back in the day when I used to watch 2K videos that inspired that. I made a LeBron documentary on 2K17 on the kind of I tried to recreate his entire career as much to the best I possibly could. And that took me like 2-3 months, and it hit like 100K, and I was so gassed when it hit like 100K, because when you put that much work into a video and it pays off, like for years I thought I'd never top that video. And when it came to the NBA draft, right, with the one-on-one project, it was like, okay, this could quite possibly be the peak of Lamelo Ball's hype, his clout, his fame, because when we first discovered him all the way back in like, when was it, 2016, 2017 with
Yeah,
Chino Hills.
the half court shot and stuff like that.
Exactly. You're thinking to yourself, like, imagine him in the NBA. I can't wait until he gets to the NBA. And that's like, when you're in the NBA, it's like with Zion now, it's like, okay, you kind of like accept he's in the NBA. You get used to when he's in the NBA. But when he first arrive in the NBA, that's where it's like, oh, everyone wants to have like a rough idea. Like, what is he? Do you know what I mean? Like, is he a bust? Is he a star? So on the night of the draft, where everyone was wondering where he was going to play for, I strategically dropped that documentary, and I wanted to do the storyline justice. And I wanted to make sure that the story that people like us who have followed it step of the way, and not just based on what they hear on the narratives on First Take and Fox Sports, all of that. I wanted people to know the true story and kind of see the rise, the fall, and then the return. So that was kind of broken up into three parts. It's like the rise, which is obviously Chino Hills. The downward spiral was Lithuania and the JBA. Not in terms of like, I mean, in terms of narrative. Like if you watch the documentary, you'll see it was then when all the media were saying, yeah, he's done this and that. So, I mean, that project is something I'm really proud of. Shout out to Ollie, who helped me get it done. Shout out to all the fan pages and the work that went into promo and all of that. It was a huge project. And in terms of doing stuff like that in the future, without going on for too long, I want to try and make something like that, but where I'm there recording everything. Do you know what I'm saying? So like it says in the title original documentary, but when I properly looked at the word, it wasn't really an original documentary. It was just a documentary based on content I found elsewhere and put it all together. But what I'd love to do in the future is take that to the next level. Let's say if Jello was to go to the London Lines or something,
No,
and I'm the
I'd be
one,
there.
bro, we'll all be there. That's what I'm saying. I'll be there recording, try to get there at practice, try to get the games, and the footage is never seen before footage. And that's something, hopefully post-pandemic, I mean, I can get into doing. And it would help if Jello went to London. So Jello, you going to London benefits everyone, not just yourself.
I remember when I was, like 9, 10, going to watch Newcastle Eagles every game. And you know, some of the people that would turn up there, you're just like, this is mental. And then they would have like the Harlem Globetrotters. That's what first got us into basketball. And then obviously I found out all the Ballers Life and Overtime and all them, and then you. and that's what really kicked us off in the world of basketball. So I thank you for coming on as well.
No, bro, it's no problem, bro. Showing love. Yeah, in terms of like the ball is life era, I feel like for people in the UK, I feel like, and maybe it's just because I notice it more, but I feel like people in the UK have like a certain interest for the Ball family, and it's quite common because I mean you get the gist of it. For the most part, people are football fans, and I love football as well. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
same.
But like you'd be surprised how many NBA fans are actually among people in the UK now. It's becoming like increasingly popular for people to follow the NBA. And like 5% of my audience is from the UK. And that's like Ball family catered. So you'll have a bunch of NBA fans in the UK that don't care about the Ball family. So I'm wondering if has basketball really grown that big in the UK, or are the Ball family just so appealing to the international demographic? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, I think a big mistake the NBA made was moving the Europe game out of London to Paris, because then obviously that stops a lot of people can't go to Paris and to watch and pay the prices to watch NBA games. And so if they kept it in London, I think a lot more people would take notice of the NBA, research it when coming down to watch, say the Knicks or the Hornets, who not many people know about. But
Bro. If they had the Hornets in London, bro, I'm telling you, bro, that would be unbelievable because the city of London, I mean, I feel like I mean, when you see the pop-up shops, bro, loads of people were there, like for Jello, for Melo and LeVar or whatever. So like if the Hornets came to London, and that's one thing I don't think the NBA takes advantage of enough. They have like 2 games a year. Like I was gonna go to the NBA London, so I'm looking at the game and it's the Washington Wizards without John Wall and Bradley Beal versus the New York Knicks. And I'm like, are you mad? Like, what? I'm not paying. Like, no, it doesn't really interest me. I would never watch that game on TV, so I'm not gonna pay extra to go. I think they should do Paris and they should do London. I mean, there's enough games. Each team plays 82 times. And you're telling me you can only go to London for 2 of them?
Was that the NFL? The NFL do. I think they do multiple games in Europe, especially obviously with their Tottenham Stadium being converted.
Well, there you go.
And I think, especially obviously with the pandemic causing loads of money problems in the NBA with them not receiving as much fan revenue, and if you put Lamelo on the Hornets in London versus LeBron, people would go and that game would sell.
Absolutely. So you sell out. And the thing is, there's the difference as well, because you're going to sell out that game anyway in the States. But if you can sell that out in London, people will go to that game. And not only will they go to that game, but they will get to see the best representation of basketball. You could have people that are like, you know what, just for the sake of it, we got a bunch of money. Let's go and watch the Washington Wizards versus the New York Knicks. And it's they're not seeing the best of NBA basketball because those two teams are like at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they're less likely to become interested in the sport, because I mean the way anyone becomes interested in basketball in the UK is you come across something that intrigues you. For me, it was that man up there. I remember flicking through the channels. I saw him like shooting a free throw or whatever. That's how it first started. That leads to me buying 2K. Start playing 2K. You get a bit more familiar with teams, players, and stuff. And next thing you know, it's the predominant like thing in my life. Do you know what I mean? Which I come on here and talk about every day. So if they gave the UK people and the European people and whoever the best representation of what NBA basketball is about in these foreign countries and did it more often, there's no limit to how big the sport can become in these countries.
Yeah, obviously you're saying Kobe was the big influence in you getting into basketball. Yes. I remember, so I follow the Bucks. That's like my NBA team. And the reason I follow them is because on like 2K14 or 15, I think whichever one was Giannis's first one, he was like low rated. I was speaking to one of my mates, and I was speaking to him going, oh, this guy's name is mental. I couldn't pronounce it. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna follow him. And obviously he's went on to do what he's done and became one of the biggest stars in the world. especially basketball.
That's crazy, bro. I feel like a lot of people from the UK, like, because when I first got into basketball, I ended up getting a bunch of my friends into it as well, just coincidentally. I convinced them to buy 2K or whatever when they're like 11,
Yeah.
and it's like now they're fans to this day. A lot of people, their favorite players and their favorite teams goes back to their favorite player on 2K. Like one of my boys, his favorite player is Russell Westbrook because he's always going blacktop, and Russell would be the one he always passes the ball to. So that became his favorite NBA player. I've got people who to this day don't like certain NBA players because they weren't passing to them on my career and stuff. So it's like 2K, yeah, the 2K effect. I mean that Giannis, bro. I remember those games when Giannis was like he was like the lowest rated player in the game, and he had that long ass name. I remember I used to watch some 2K YouTubers, and someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to trade for him or whatever," and then I went out of my way. Like, yeah, I'm going to trade for that long-named Greek guy. You know what I mean? Not knowing the first thing about him. But yeah, to see Giannis go on to be one of the biggest stars in sports, one of the two-time running MVP, Defensive Player of the Year last year, when you see the come up, I mean, he wasn't no Luka Doncic, who was like a highly ranked, you know what I'm saying, player in like the top league dominating. You know what I mean? He got discovered in like the second league, the championship of Greece. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sleeping on gym floors and that.
It's crazy how he
literally came from the slums to like the highest.
From the bottom. But do you think he made a mistake re-signing with the Bucks?
I don't think he made a mistake. I think the Bucks made a mistake by not getting the right players around him, because the Bucks were literally at the top, ready. They just needed that one more star player to move on to win the championship, and then they haven't gone and done it. And I think that's really going to cost them in the long run, especially with Giannis on the Supermax.
Because while neither of them are stars, they're both like B+ players. Is Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday enough? Because they're obviously on big contracts, right? So they're getting paid as if they're stars. You give them Giannis the Supermax. If you had to part ways with one of Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, which one would it be? Or would you just fire the coach first?
I wouldn't fire the coach. I would get rid of Drew.
Drew.
Yeah, and I would get like an all-star point guard.
So do you think would you have kept Bledsoe over Drew?
I think they played better with Bledsoe compared to Drew, but I just think that was a chemistry reason.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, it goes to show that maybe the Pelicans-Bucks trade didn't work out for either party, because I prefer Drew with the Pelicans, and obviously you're a Bucks fan saying that you prefer Bledsoe with the Bucks. So it's just interesting. It's not as simple as an upgrade's an upgrade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Bucks got to figure it out. They've got time because they've got Giannis locked up long term. He doesn't seem like the type to demand a trade. I think he's committed to Milwaukee. But I mean, you're gonna have to make some moves if you're gonna, because the Nets, bro, they'll figure it out eventually.
Eventually, if they don't win a championship with that team, then something is went majorly wrong.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So if we move on, obviously you mentioned how you got into the NBA. So we'll move on to, out of the current crop of the new breed of the NBA players, if you could build that starting five, who would you put in it?
The new generation.
The new generation.
So I'm gonna call that the ball is life.
Yeah.
From onwards, okay.
Yeah.
Let me two of them are getting shoehorned in. Lamelo, Zion, Luka. Yeah, I know he's not really part of the ball is life here. I'm talking kind of like 2017 onwards.
Yeah. That's what I sort of meant, like 2017 draft.
Okay. So Lamelo, Luka, Zion. I need a big man. Well, what have I got to work with? I've got.
There's not really a big man there, but yeah, I suppose you could just go small ball and move like this.
No. I'm gonna play Zion as a small ball 5. I'm gonna play Luka at the 3. I'm gonna put Trae Young at the 2, Lamelo at the 1. Oh no, Trae Young at the 1, Lamelo at the 2, Luka at the 3, Zion at the 5, and then who was in the 2019 draft again? No one
Yeah.
really other than
No,
Jans.
yeah. It was them two then that like the other hyped players are like RJ and Cam, and then
yeah, I don't want none of that. Let me just say, damn, bro, you hit me on the spot right now. Okay, I mean, I would like to choose Ja Morant, but position-wise, that just doesn't
it
really
doesn't
work.
fit
That's
in.
just horrible. But I mean, if we're going back to 2017, Jason Tatum, but I don't really count him as part. I don't even count Lonzo as a part of the Balls life era, really.
Which count? I mean, he obviously wasn't the Ballers life era, but Ben Simmons. I mean, I know he was 2016, but he obviously didn't play that season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So it's like I feel like 2017 was when like the obviously Ball's life was around back then, but when like high school hoops and amateur hoops kind of became like mainstream, where it's like that in itself had such a big fan base. Like I mean, the new generation Lamelo Ball now is really Mikey Williams.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's what Lamelo was to a lot of us, to like people who maybe weren't. You know what I'm saying? And Bronny too.
I mean, if you go on, Bronny James and Mikey Williams, you see them two absolutely like the mixtapes are flying out, but people are thinking like Bronny's not going to be what people expect him to be. Like they're literally expecting him to be top of the top. Obviously not as good as his dad, but they're expecting him to be up there. And I think he could be close to an Anthony Bennett type player. That's a bold statement, but I just think it.
See, I think the problem. I mean, he is a top 20. He is considered a top 20 player.
Yeah.
In his class at that age. Now that is good. Don't get me wrong, but that might guarantee you that you're going to college if you're up there. But that does not guarantee that you're going to go to the league. And you also can't help but wonder, the same way the Ball family were like kind of held back based on their family name, as Bronny James propelled because of his family name. Now Bronny's he's a good player, but I mean he doesn't really show much of LeBron. He's got kind of like the point guard skills that LeBron has, but he's not the physical specimen yet anyway that LeBron is. We might see Bronny James in 2 years' time hit like a crazy growth spurt, turn out to be 6'8", built like his dad, and I mean that is still possible. But in terms of current trajectory, what is he like he's like a 6'4" point guard?
Yeah.
But then again, what was Lamelo at that age? He was probably like a 6'3" point guard.
Lamelo had a crazy growth spurt like over the last year and a half, like 18 months.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I feel hard for Bronny because no matter what he does, it's like the people are expecting him to be LeBron James, or even they're expecting him to be Mikey Williams, Lamelo Ball. The thing that's interesting about Mikey Williams to me is that he basically is the new face of high school basketball, I'd say. Other than Bronny, who's like Bronny because he's LeBron James' son, in terms of like the golden child, right? It seems to be Mikey Williams. Not in terms of who's the best, in terms of like hype. You could say Amoni Bates is better. You could say Chet Holmgren's better, whatever his name is. Like, but in terms of like who gets the views, it's Mikey Williams.
Yeah.
What I try to pinpoint is when you compare that, and I look at the hype, and it is kind of similar, maybe not to the same extent on a mainstream to Melo, but I'm interested in no hate, like what it is about Mikey Williams that warrants that hype. Do you know what I mean? Because with Lamelo, a big part of it was that he's Lonzo's younger brother. He hit the half court shot. He had his own brand, his own signature shoe. Mikey, okay, yeah, he's cool. He's got like a personality. I can understand why a lot of young people his age in America would want to be Mikey Williams. But I don't know. I don't know if it hits the same. And maybe that's just me from being older.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I completely agree. But in terms of like the hype around them, I don't believe the Bronny James hype is warranted just based off what I've seen of him, where he's knocks down a couple of threes, but you do see him brick
Yeah,
a lot of
reckon
shots as
so.
well. So I can see it, but I think Mikey Williams will be the better out of the two.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
One question I want to ask about, well, I'll follow on from them two, is obviously you see the G League Ignite team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the way forward for players? Do you think most of the top recruits will skip college to go and play G League, or do you think college will still be that route?
I think college will always be there because it's traditional. It's the traditional way. If you've got 10 prospects, I believe 5 of them will still always go to college, or at least for the next 5 to 10 years. I think we'd have to see what the G League looks like on a full normal post-pandemic season for that shift to happen, because as successful as the G League Ignite team and that seems to have been so far, I mean, Jalen Green was seen as the number one prospect, but now it's like the consensus is almost that Cade Cunningham's the number one prospect.
Yeah.
So is it good for your draft stock? I have no doubt in my mind that had Lamelo gone to college, he could have averaged close to a triple-double, and there wouldn't have been no conversation about the number one pick. If Luka Doncic was playing in college, there wouldn't be no conversation about the number one pick. So if you're trying to get the bag quick and you're just trying to be drafted as high as possible, you might be better off going to college. But then, but because it's the NBA back in it, that's how it's a serious threat to the NCAA.
Yeah.
LeVar is JBA, that's independent, you know what I mean? But the NBA itself, it's like the Premier League, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So are you saying LaMelo, I mean, obviously forfeited college by going to Lithuania. Why are you saying it hurt his draft stock going to Australia, or do you think that helped it?
I think it helped it, but in college he would have been taken more seriously. There wouldn't have been no doubts.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are, especially in mainstream basketball, you'd be surprised how uneducated they are about basic concepts of the overseas game. I mean, it's not hard to understand that professionals are better than amateurs. Do you know what I mean? Like the average, you get college players, the good ones that don't make the NBA go pro. The best ones make the NBA. 75% of them become maths teachers, scientists, farmers, and stuff like that when they get done their scholarship, like the last people on the bench. So when Lamelo's going out there and killing it against professional Australian players who play basketball every day for a living, and Anthony Edwards maybe hits a game winner on someone who, I mean, you don't know where he's going to be, but I can tell you the players that Melo was playing are still professional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my point is, I think had he gone to college, they would be more familiar with the competition, and they would have had less questions, which would have led to him going number one in the draft, which only a few months later, we are now looking back on and saying, well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of obvious, wasn't it? The same way with Luka, it took about a month for people to be like, yeah, we got this one wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, obviously, I think the one major doubt people had about LaMelo coming in is that I don't think he'd ever finish the season other than Spire. And obviously, with his injury in Australia, which people, I heard some people say that it might have been just to get out of there as quick as possible and get back to America. So, but I think that was one major thing people had. And obviously, in the last game, he did get injured, but he played the full game. Do you think injuries could be a part, like they were in Lonzo's start of his career, that could hinder him?
Well, listen, if you look at the recurring theme, Lonzo, ankle injuries. LiAngelo, ankle injuries. Lamelo, ankle injuries. So I think that is a result of, and Lonzo seems to have overcome it, right? And I think if you put it in that way, I think the ankle issues the Ball brothers are having is a result of two things. One, playing on concrete for basically their entire lives. And two, running them hills as often as they were doing back in the day. Because LeVar says, I mean, I'd still have them doing that now. And like people, like actual people within the NBA, and like you're crazy if you have your players running hills during the season, during the. So I mean, Lamelo wore it out. He played through that injury, however big, minor it is. If he gets injured, he gets injured. You know what I mean, players get injured all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything enough to derail his career and his trajectory, because obviously he had that injury in Australia and he's come back better than he was back then. I think Melo's an even better player now. He's a better shooter now than he was then. One thing I almost conceded was that Lamelo's going to do this and that in the NBA with the highlight passes, but he's going to shoot about 25% from the 3-point line.
He's going to be
I
like
mean,
Ja Morant.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lonzo, you know what I mean? Like just bricking everything. But heck, he's hitting it with some consistency, and he surprised people in that aspect of the game.
Oh, definitely. I've got a question for you that you might already have an answer for. I don't know how ready you are. If you could pick one team for LaMelo, excluding the Pelicans, to trade for LaMelo, who would you pick?
Who needs a point guard? I need to think of teams that don't have a point. Great teams that don't have a point guard. Teams with great players, but like they're kind of just missing that. I mean, just off the top of my head, the Bucks would be a good one.
Oh yeah.
So the Bucks, yeah. I mean, that would probably be in the conversation.
And if LaMelo went to the Bucks with his lob passes
to Giannis, Giannis has got the wingspan. He's catching everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The Bucks is a good one. I'm trying to think. 76ers potentially.
Move Ben Simmons back to where he's meant to play.
Yeah, because when people talk about like this is kind of off topic, right? But people's definition of a point guard these days is like it's so vague, and it's like, oh, LaMelo's a top 5 point guard, and they're like, no, he's not. You got LeBron, you got Luka, you got Simmons, you got Curry, you got Harden. And I'm like, well, are 4 of them even point guards? You know what I mean? So I feel like people got to tighten up their definition of what a point guard is, because some people will say, hey, Ben Simmons is a point guard, and the only reason you're saying LaMelo's not a point guard is because he's skinny. If LaMelo was a few pounds heavier, people would be calling him a point forward too, which is a valid point as well. So, I mean, I feel like the definition of what a point guard is really needs to be cleared up, and we need to, because I mean the game is pretty much positionless now anyway. But back to your original question, I kind of like the Knicks. I don't know why, like just the New York, but I don't think Melo needs that. Is there any teams in the West? The Clippers, maybe? They need a point guard. Yeah, I'd go Clippers, Bucks, because if I'm going to trade them anyway, I want them to be on a contender.
Yeah.
There's no point in trading them from the Hornets to like the Timberwolves or the Pistons or something.
Somewhere,
you know what I
mean? You want him to go somewhere where he's in with a chance of getting to the finals.
Exactly, because he's in a good situation right now anyway, like in terms of development. So why risk messing that up just to go to another lottery bound team? There would be no point in that. So I would say the Bucks and the Clippers. Sorry for taking so long with that answer.
It's absolutely fine. Do you think he'll see out his rookie contract, or do you think he'll be like his brother and get moved on?
No, I think you'll see it out. Unless I don't see like Lonzo was in a unique situation because he played for the Lakers.
Yeah, he was big market.
The Lakers' priority is getting good as soon as possible, getting back to that championship level as soon as possible. They saw an opportunity to do that by trading for Anthony Davis. Lonzo, Ingram, it was a project at the time, but when LeBron joined, that just accelerated the whole process. And it's like, okay, now you need to go get a second star. You've got the assets. Looking back, the writing was on the wall the whole time. Like LeBron wasn't going to sit and stick around with a bunch like 3 young rookies and try and win.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases that's worked out for especially Brandon Ingram, who's went on to be an all-star.
Yeah, exactly, and that worked out for Anthony Davis. He's a champion, first season. could go back to back this year. Has it worked out for Lonzo Ball though? I don't know.
I think it all depends on his free agency.
I think it'll be very telling what he does in free agency.
Yeah.
Because a part of me thinks that Lonzo looks at that Lakers and he wanted to stay. He wanted to stay. When the trade deadline passed, he posted on his story, it's like, the song, we ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped, all of that. So, like, he's a Cali kid, isn't he?
Yeah, I saw his name mentioned maybe going to the Clippers, but I don't know whether he'll have that. I think it's Lakers or nothing if he goes back to LA.
See, I wonder to see if he's competitive though. He'll look at the Clippers situation and he'll be like, look, think about the perimeter defense and the athletic defense. Me, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. How fitting would it be me, the low-key Lonzo, goes back to LA with the Clippers, beats the Lakers, who traded me, takes down LeBron, who got traded me, my idol, and become a championship, because he's an upgrade on Patrick Beverly.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and he's like 10 years younger.
Exactly. So he does what Patrick Beverly does on the defensive end. He's longer, more versatile. He's proven now that he can hit the three at as good or better a rate. And he also can take on some of the playmaking responsibilities that team clearly lacks. Because Kawhi Leonard, although he's been better at it this season, Paul George has been better at this season, they're not point forwards. They're pure, like, small forwards, basically. That's exactly what both of them are. They're wing defenders, wing perimeter players. They don't have that playmaker who has all these different players that everyone needs to get involved. You've got, because they're stacked with depth, the Clippers, and they were last season as well. So bringing in someone in Lonzo, I think that actually would be one of the best situations for him in the entire league. But like you said, it might be Lakers or nothing because his heart's so set on the Lakers. But if he's a competitor, which I don't know if he is to that extent, I have always had questions about that. I mean, I'd take a long look at the Clippers for sure.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see where he goes in free agency. We're getting towards the end of it now. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions back on YouTube. So, the short term, if after COVID, what is the plan? Like, what are you aiming to achieve?
My whole thing coming into COVID was like, I want to take absolute advantage of this time. No distractions. I mean, one of my main things I love doing is I love going on holiday. That's obviously how I came across you or whatever. I love going to different places and stuff, and that can have an effect. When I went to MAGA, that was the week that Lamelo went to Australia, Lonzo got traded, the week of the NBA draft or whatever.
Yeah.
So my channel actually took like kind of, I thought I could go and edit videos, but I'm sitting there in the scorching heat. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when we were out there, me and my mates saw obviously you. I met you on the stairs of a hotel.
In our hotel.
But as you say, there was too many distractions out there. Especially, you don't want to be stuck inside editing if you got 40-degree heat outside.
That's what I'm saying. And when you're out the game for a week, like, YouTube moves so fast, because while I'm doing that, you got other people still making the videos on like people being drafted or whatever. I managed to do like 2 altogether, but I wanted to do a video on like the LeVar Molly Querim thing, because that happened that week as well. When they had like that beef on First Take, and I got like
where he got kicked off ESPN.
Yeah, basically, and I'm like, took me about 6 days to complete it, because I mean, it's just so hot. I said, you want to go out. So that's one thing I love to do, right? And obviously, when you do those things, when you go away for a week, that takes a big hit on your, just the way the YouTube algorithm moves and stuff. When you're not posting content, someone else is, so someone else is getting the views. With none of that going on, it's like, okay, now's my perfect opportunity to put my head down and grind, because I'm stuck inside anyway for the most part. Obviously, being in the UK, I mean, there's nothing to do outside, especially in winter. When you like, I couldn't. If I'm going to meet one of my friends now or whatever, like, it's sitting in a car and talking. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, same. Like with me and my mates, before Christmas, like when we could actually do stuff, it was literally just go to the gym and then we'd just go and sit in cars next to the river. And that's it.
That's all there is to do at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I've been given maybe, let's say, 12 to 18 months, depending on how long this lasts for, maybe longer, to just put my head down, make as much money as I can, set myself up for a future, whatever I can do with like this YouTube thing in like a short period of time. Now is the perfect time to do it. So short term, I don't really have any goals in terms of like subscriber count. Obviously, 200K would be nice. Maybe get more consistent on my second channel would be nice. But the only thing like you really can control is the work that you put in. And I know to myself that I will get my channel will get the best out of itself if I put in the work every day and maximize the potential for it to grow by just making videos as often as possible. I want to be put in a position where I come out post pandemic in a hell of a lot of a better situation than I was going into it. And for now, that's an everyday process.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously the extension of that question would be, what is the end goal? Like, what is the long term? Like, say when you're 50, 60, are you going to still be creating content on YouTube, or do you think, are you hopeful that you've moved into like a mainstream, or maybe YouTube is the mainstream?
Yeah, I feel like there's a huge culture shift going on in every industry. And I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic was when it kind of got legitimized, where it's like YouTube and online creators kind of started getting the respect that they deserve in terms of like they are right there with the most famous celebrities in the world. Like a KSI can eat at the same table as anyone. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like stature, popularity, fame. When they're now seeing that they're on that, like someone like KSI is on their level, he's really past their level if you really look at numbers and stuff like that for a lot of these major A-list celebrities or whatever. So I feel like there's a big culture shift in terms of when you say YouTube being the new mainstream. That could happen, and I'd like to be at the forefront in that, and I'd like to be someone that helps contribute to that, especially in the UK. I'd like to be someone who pushes the basketball culture forward in the UK, and I also think to myself every day, and I look at it, right, and it's a personal goal of mine. I think the sports media, like this, I think the state of sports media in the UK is in a horrible place. The football punditry is so bad, and sometimes I feel like maybe it's my calling to go save it, because I genuinely feel that Sky Sports. I need to chill with that. Some of the people on Sky Sports, like you'd see in the NBA, just because you're like a former player or whatever, doesn't mean you're a great journalist. Doesn't mean you're great at breaking down the game. Look at Ryan Hollins.
Yeah, he just gets ruined every day.
Exactly, and he played in the league. So when you've got a bunch of these guys, I'm going to leave them nameless, just in case this soundbite comes back to haunt me a few years from now, because I've called out
a few experienced pundits.
Exactly, but I mean, I feel like there's not enough true analysis, and the way people like the fans like evaluate like a player in football, and
yeah,
it's just all so wrong. And I'm like,
but
no, you guys are lacking basic education on like
yeah,
how this stuff really works.
I was speaking to some people I'm in a group chat with, and I was talking. I was like, if you look at the mainstream media, he said, in like ESPN, how they got Sports Center. Said if YouTube got like a Sports Center sort of show like that was pushed to the front, YouTube would just take over. And like all, so I think that's what you need. And obviously, you've got people who are like our age who know a lot just based off paying attention, and not, you might not have played, or they might not have been very good when they played, but they know a lot and they know how to analyze, and so I think maybe like a sports center on YouTube might be the way forward.
Bro, that's the thing. See, on First Take and things like that, you got Stephen A. Smith debating with Max Kellerman. You've got Shannon Sharp debating with Skip Bayless. You have them all interchanging and collabing. The problem I think with a lot of these YouTubers is everyone's independent. I make my own videos. He makes his own videos. Someone over here makes their own videos. But then at the same time, people listen to Stephen A. Smith on First Take. But then how many people listen to Stephen A. Smith's radio show? Not nearly as many people. And that's just Stephen A. by himself. Max Kellerman has a radio show. And I'm sure his numbers are really good or whatever. But I imagine it wouldn't compare to that of First Take. So clearly, they want to see people going back and forth, debating with each other, sharing opinions and stuff like that. So if, let's say, you were to have one ultimate NBA YouTube channel, right, where you've got like your Mike Cresembers, your Jimmy High Rollers, whatever, them making some type of content, and then you've got creators here and there, like let's say I'm the one that covers the Ball family exclusively the same way on ESPN. You've got people who like Jonathan Giavoni and stuff like that who cover on all the pre-draft, and you have enough personalities there to, you know what I'm saying, cover all aspects of it, like all aspects of the sports. Maybe this YouTuber excels in college basketball. Heck, this YouTuber is like knows the British game. Heck, we'll even bring him on. Do you know what I mean? Just for to spice it up and more variety. And if you just had that on one platform, one big channel, you could compete with the ESPNs, because the ESPNs are moving to YouTube, and they're moving to YouTube for a reason. I don't know if you remember back in the day, used to get people getting hundreds of thousands of views just taking a First Take segment and uploading it. That's how I first started watching First Take. It was only 2 years ago or whatever that they made like an official channel, and all these platforms now, like you used to be able to just, people used to make a bag back in the day because they'd steal just like the highlights from like a Liverpool game, and like they post it on YouTube, and people that don't watch the game just type in YouTube Liverpool highlights, and some random guys get in the bag for it. But now it's like they've been made aware of that, so now it's like BT are on it right away, and Sky Sports are on it right away, and they're posting it.
I mean, I remember like watching like Max Kellerman compilations of him just getting like ripped into by Stephen A. Smith, and I think that's what most people's, especially in the UK, that's what most people's introduction to like ESPN, Sports Center, and all that is.
Yeah. I mean, it's entertainment at the end of the day. So, if you have two favorite creators that people like and they're going back and forth in a debate, it's not really about who's right and who's wrong. It's about
entertainment.
It's about entertainment, and it's also about telling the people what they see, who maybe don't deep dive into it enough to understand exactly what they see. So a lot of time it's like they just want to watch your video and nod their head like, yeah, you know what, DKM, I thought that. I thought that Lamelo looked like he was struggling with an injury a little bit. I'm glad that you saw that too, because I thought it was just me maybe being biased or whatever. Yeah, you know what, I thought that was really good when he does this or does that. So a lot of the time you're just telling people what they already know and what they want to hear, and it's just because like you're confirming it for them in a sense. Because people go into like, let's say a GOAT debate, right? And this is one thing that ticks me off so much, that people spend so much time. People go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. LeBron or Jordan. You're never going to change the other person's opinion.
No.
Same with the Messi and Ronaldo. Like, I'd love to have. Heck, I'm not going to say which side I'm on.
Yeah, it just causes debate. Like, I was on, just to interrupt you, I was on like a podcast where we had a debate where it was like, is Haaland and Mbappe the new Messi and Ronaldo? And it's like, yeah, you can have it, but it's like completely different.
Bro, like, listen, this is one thing this generation needs to understand. And since we're on this topic, I'm going to understand. The Messi and Ronaldo dynamic, you've never seen anything like that in sports, ever. So to think that there's two players already in this generation, they're not only going to like, you might never get someone that ever reaches the levels of Messi and Ronaldo again in terms of numbers and in terms of consistency, right? So to think you've got two guys coming along in the same generation who are going to be as good, like Mbappe's not going to reach Messi or Ronaldo's level. He's not.
No.
Haaland's not going to reach. Haaland might, because he's such a pure goal scorer, he might be up there with your Zlatan Ibrahimovic's, and all your other great goal scorers, because there's goal scorers in every generation.
Yeah,
there's like a 40 goal a season, 30 goal a season type guy. There's been that throughout the history of the game. But what Messi and Ronaldo did was more than that. They were scoring 60, 70 goals a season, winning everything. And the only competition was like each other. There was no one even remotely close to them.
Yeah, well, by the time Haaland and Mbappe get like 25, 26, there might be someone else coming in.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, right, this is what people forget. And like, 2015, 2016, not long ago, everyone to their core was convinced Messi and Ronaldo, they're like 30. Next up is Neymar. He's gonna win. He's gonna win like 5 Ballon d'Ors because there's no one that's gonna be compete with him. And now he's like approaching 29, 30, and he's not won a Ballon d'Or. And Neymar's a fantastic player, but it's like people were so convinced on Neymar being that next thing. And as great a player as he is, top 5 player in the world, he's not lived up to their expectations because their expectations were probably unrealistic. It's going to be the same with Mbappe and Haaland. Like they're not going to be Messi and Ronaldo. No one will be. I'm confident there will not be anyone as good as Messi or anyone at the level of Ronaldo in my lifetime. I'm confident. Maybe when I'm 60, 70, but
not currently.
Not currently because
I agree. I've got a few quick fire-ish questions. Just like, so what would you be doing if YouTube wasn't a thing? Like if your YouTube channel was still back in the day getting the 100 views and you just weren't making anything, what was the plan? Or was YouTube always the plan?
On some real this actually goes so deep, bro. Like, because for me, honestly, there was no other plan.
Yeah.
It was like I said, I'd been doing YouTube for like 5 years before I even made a dime. I got to like my last year of high school, and it was like, I'm running out of time. I never wanted to work a job. I wasn't good in school. You know what I mean? I was like, because it goes against like I need to be passionate about stuff I do, and I was, without getting into what I was like in high school, there was no other option. It wasn't like a choice. It was like I decided once I realized when I was like 11 years old, you can't choose your job, and I can't be a footballer just because I want to be, and I can't be a basketball player or whatever, and I have to work. I was like, no way. I'm not working no job. Like I can't do that. Like no. Okay. And I discovered YouTube. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sort of the same. Like that's one of the reasons I started this is like it's something like over the last year and a half I've been really passionate about it. Like I listened to loads of podcasts, so I was just like, I need to start something that in the future I could have as a job, like you're saying, and it's just
it is achievable, bro.
Yeah,
it is achievable. If you feel like you have the passion for it, bro, I promise you it is achievable because I should, realistically speaking, 99.9% of people in my situation would have given up in high school.
No, yeah.
I loved it that much that I kept going. Like, bro, when I say I first got to high school, bro, like people found out my channel like 2 weeks into high school. And when you're doing it for 5 years and you're still getting like 30 views a video and people are like playing it in like class and stuff, your little cringy Minecraft gaming video. You know what I'm saying? Loads of people had channels and they never gave it the full bash, but I wanted to do it so badly. And it was like, it sounds perfect for what I want to do. I'll play games all day. Let me become a gaming YouTuber. But my main passion was always sports. I was playing sports games. So then I got to the point where I was like, okay, instead of making videos on sports games, I got a little bit older, stopped playing games as much. It's like, why don't I actually focus on the actual sport itself? Yeah. So, it is achievable, bro. It's 100% achievable. You just gotta work your fucking ass off. As simple as that.
Yeah, I suppose the final question is just to follow on is like, were the people like that you're closest to, were they supportive, or did they like just say, you've got to like knuckle down in school and like actually get like a proper job, as the people would say?
So the closest people to me, right, back then and whatever, they were kind of support. I don't want to say they weren't supportive, right, because it was just standard whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I don't hold anything against anyone from like high school that might have ripped into me for doing YouTube or any of that, because I understand like everyone just ripped into everyone for anything outside. Everyone's a little insecure teenager or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's not normal. We're gonna pick on you for this. So I'm not gonna hold anything against what people might have said, because I do remember it all. I do remember absolutely everything that each and every individual said, even the people closest to me. But for the most part, the people that what was really telling was the people that were closest to me. When it did pop off, I could tell that they were genuinely proud. Do you know what I mean? And okay, maybe they made some jokes when we were 15, whatever. A video gets 20 views, whatever, saying this and that, content's bad or whatever. But I mean, they were probably being real. It probably was bad. Do you know what I mean? It probably
Yeah.
wasn't good. But yeah, they were telling me to knuckle down in school. They said the people said it wasn't going to happen, but I was so convinced in my mind that like there's like it's happening. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
couldn't have told me otherwise that I wouldn't have been a YouTuber. Do you know what I mean? So when you reach that point and when you hit the 100K and you get that plaque, like a part of me felt like I can't quit because I
Yeah.
put so much time into this and I've not set out what I tried to achieve. Am
Yeah.
I just going to do this for 5 years? Like, because I sacrificed a lot of time and social life in high school. Like, when you're just inside making games all day, you fall out the loop with like
Yeah.
the social everything. You're not going to parties. You're not like in with the people who have the parties because you're doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like I needed to make something from the sacrifices, and I stuck at it long enough to make that happen.
I mean, when I originally reached out to you to do this, I scrolled up like a tiny bit before I sent the message, and it was your story of your 100K plaque.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it when I clicked on the chat today when you messaged me.
And I was just like, Jesus. I mean, when we first met, like, I mean, nearly 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many subscribers were you on then? Like you definitely you might have been under 100. You were under
Yeah, I was
100K.
under 100K. I think I was I went through from MAGA onwards, like I kind of at that point in my life, right? To not go on for too long, I got a little bit too caught up in the benefits that came from YouTube
Yeah.
and the life that I was able to live. Like I'd spent so much time just working all these years to get whatever. I was coming up for 100K, which was always my goal. Like I never thought about a million because it was like 100K was just I saw so many people do it, and I was like, it's impossible, but it's possible. Do you know what I mean? When I'm sitting there with 2,000 subscribers or whatever, a million. I now look at a million the way I looked at 100K back then. I think it's more possible because I've already done something. But at that point in my life, I was kind of just live it like I was going on holiday every 3 weeks, um, just enjoying the benefits of being of the work that I put in for such a long period of time, and that caught up to me in a sense, like that. Okay, I'm not putting in the same amount of work that I did, so now the views aren't as same. The subscribers aren't as happy with you. You're half-assing it, and it wasn't really until and you always say to yourself, it's hard to get into that zone. It's so hard when you're in that zone. Like you still lock yourself in a dungeon because when you're in that daily grind zone, like that upload zone, like it's hard to get back into it. Even if you
Yeah.
take one day off, it's hard to just like go back in your room. Like right here, I go again. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't until really November, December, 2020 that I was like, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at right now. Like I want to keep this up from then onward, from that time gap, from them to before then till MAGA was kind of like, how can I get back to where I was,
Yeah.
regardless of the subscriber count? You know what I mean? It's all about how much effort I'm putting in for me.
Yeah. But I think that wraps it up. I think we ended it in a good place. So thank you for coming on.
Bro, no problem, bro.
I hope, obviously, I'll probably be in one of your live streams soon.
For
Obviously,
sure, bro.
if you want to see where people can find you on Instagram and everywhere like that.
I mean, what's it called? I mean, the link. No, I'm not gonna read out like a long ass link. If people want to come and find out the socials or whatever, you can go click on the channel. You know what I mean, they'll be in the description somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. I appreciate you for inviting me on, bro. And bro, anytime you want to talk, bro, you know what I'm saying? You got my Snapchat, yeah, the socials, whatever, bro. If you ever want to talk about YouTube, anything like that, bro. I mean, I feel like I've got I'm open to saying anything, not to lead you in the right direction or anyway, but anything I can give you that I've
Yeah.
learned from my experiences to maybe accelerate the process and get into where you want to be and what you do, I'm more than happy to do that. So again, thank you for having me on, bro.
That's all good. So that was the podcast with DKM. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, follow, do all that. Check out DKM's links. Everything to do with him will be in the description of the YouTube or of the Spotify or whatever you listen on description. Other than that, share all the other podcasts. Go and listen to them all. And thanks for listening. Goodbye.